Okay, this time I didn't screw it up. Very, very important. I didn't.
Are you sure?
I mean, no.
I
I'm
have an excuse. This is my first time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but thanks for rubbing it in. What's my excuse? I'm just not very good at this. I've only been doing this for I've been doing this this podcast slash. I started the podcast in 2018, and then I started my own channel. I was working on the spring channel since.
Yeah, I followed your stuff for years.
I'm so sorry. You deserve better. But then I started my own little channel a couple years ago, and you'd think I would, reach for the stars. I'm just trying to reach for the roof. I'm just really. I want to. You know what the star looks like to me? It's you, Mary.
Oh.
Okay, you're amazing.
I go by Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No worries. No worries. That's a common thing.
It's you, Mary Ellen. I'm. That's the star. That's the high water. Perhaps unachievably high, but still very cool. I'm a big fan. Thank you for joining us today on the old show.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
So much of your time already. Look, people don't even realize I need coffee. I'm just out of sorts today. It's just been, you've had those days, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I have those days. I've had those days. I woke up at 7, was in meetings by 7:30. It's now 2:30. I just finished lunch. Didn't have breakfast. Lunch was a chocolate bar. It's a zero sugar chocolate bar.
Well, I can do most of the talking if you want to, because that's what I do. If you want to just chill out.
Oh, it's not about the quantity of talking. It's just the quality of my talking that is at issue here, because my brain's on the fritz. So I'm really. So anyway, I put poor Mary Ellen here on the old show, and I said, okay, we're gonna go live, and then I made her listen to that music as we waited for people to enter the show, and then I realized we weren't live. Not live.
We are now.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really glad. Where are you joining me from? I'm in San Francisco.
I live in Northern Virginia, not far from DC.
You're already well into Friday.
Yep, it's the weekend.
It's the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I love Virginia. How's it? Are you getting is it springtime for you there? I'm surely.
Yeah, there's certain things are starting to pop. But I mean, it's one of those times of year that, okay, in the middle of the day it could be 70 degrees, and then night it's like 30. It just goes, or it's just, you can't predict it too well.
Got the bathrobe here just in case. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm fine. You can see the outside. It's blue skies, but there's a little drizzle this morning. You know how it is. Actually, that's disconcerting. I just looked that away, and it's all gray. And anyway, watch that space. That might turn gray. As we,
okay.
I just realized looking off towards the west.
That's real. That's not a backdrop.
Yeah, that's real. It's home, but like you can see over there, there's gray clouds, and it's. Oops.
Yeah, I'm in suburbia land.
Bless.
I work from home most of the time.
That's because you're smart.
Yeah.
Not me. I got into a job that requires working with the community and traveling and produce good media content. So what did I? So remember, I'm a misanthrope. Don't particularly like people. Terrible geography, and I'm right by the highway. So all the sounds that could trickle into my audio and video, they do.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's me. That's this idiot right here. I did everything wrong. But anyway, yeah, you're smart. I want to be like that when I grow up. Is smart, I'm a big fan. Thank you the reason I know about you is because I've had people tell me about your amazing LinkedIn learning content, right? And you've got a website here. Let me see if I can. Okay, people, watch me screw this up. Okay, ready, steady. Okay, there we go. Can you see this screen?
Yeah, that's my website. MaryEllenTeaches.me is the URL, and it's just lists my current courses that are live right now. And I currently have like 3, but over the years I've produced some, and then some have been retired, or I've upgraded some. that developer highlights one is an interview I did. Just a little bit about me. What's cool about the top courses on the list there is that it's in GitHub code spaces.
Oh, super.
So, which is totally amazing to me. That it basically, the learner doesn't have to install one thing on their computer. They just go log into GitHub, and then through that I've created a code space where they start. It's basically, it starts a VM,
right?
And then they're presented in the browser a full Visual Studio Code IDE and terminal, and then I've installed the extensions, and then I can install Docker and a database or anything you need. So, like, you remember you go to a new job and it's like takes a week to set up your development environment. It's just, you don't have to do that at all. I mean, you just, boom, you're in there. And then you can step away and go to a different computer and log into that other computer and go to that same code space, and you just go where you left off. So that links there. So it's LinkedIn Learning is a subscriber-based service.
Right.
So you can sign up, like you go through the have to go through the paywall, but sign up for a free subscription for 30 days to see the things. And that so that's where you can get those access to it. But all that infrastructure for the course is not done by me. I create the code examples, the scripts, the slides, and then I go out to Carpinteria, California, into like a sponge rubber walled little room, a recording studio with a headset and everything, and make screencasts of talk over, like as I'm teaching different subjects. And then what's also cool is some of the videos are interspersed with actual video content of me speaking to a camera and a teleprompter and a director, and I have a clacky thing. Okay. It's like living a different life, because my main hustle is, I'm a software developer. I'm in the trenches.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about it before we got on the show, and I was looking up. I think I remember Confucius saying something about, and he had some, in the context of his day, he might have been Mr. Rogers, but today some of those perspectives may seem a little quaint, to put it mildly. But he did have one thing I still very much agree with, and he put teachers at the very top of like a society. Like if you are, it's the very bottom. Sorry.
That's the truth. I mean, my husband was a teacher in the middle school for 2 years, for 10 years. And it's not a 9-to-5 job at all. I mean, I have a picture of him like falling asleep on the recliner with like the red pen in hand, grading papers at like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So that's teaching kids. That's really hard. Me, I'm just talking to my laptop, but sure. I have to like visualize that people are as if somebody's listening to me, and they pay to listen to me, or their company pays to listen to me. So I think they have their attention. But I have to keep their attention to the end, because
everybody gets paid for their skill. Hopefully, more than most teachers get paid. But all that to say, I think it's very noble. I think anybody who, and also having done a few of these, I didn't do them on LinkedIn. I did them on Distinguished Competition, but nonetheless, having done that same sort of thing where you go into the studio and it's not easy. You've got to, goodness, the preparation you got to do before you get it.
It's stressful. Yeah.
And then you're in the hot lights, and there's a green screen, and there's no sound, so there's no air conditioning, and
there's different things like, I don't have to get everything perfect when I'm in the audio studio, because if I misstate something, I just say rephrase, and then the audio track is different than the video track, and they can rewind it, or so that and then I just state what I meant to say, and they edit that.
Yeah,
and so you do, and then on the video part you do a bunch of takes, but I go out to record maybe once or twice a year. So it's a really nice diversion. But like, my regular job, I've been a software developer since I graduated with a computer science degree in 1988. And I'm just, like I said, I'm in the trenches, and just starting it out in C and then C++, and I've been in Java, and
like this is the kind of stuff I love. Is I saw you have, as always, you're being modest. You said you have 30 plus years, and it sounds like you've got a good deal more than that, actually.
Yeah, plus that's the plus. I don't want to say too much to make myself look really old.
And so I'm always curious about what motivates somebody. Starting backwards, you're a teacher now, and I believe that the path to mastery is teaching, right? If you want to get good at the subject, teach it to somebody else, and if they come out of the process better informed for it, then you must know a thing, And but nonetheless, we're all students at some point. We're all students simultaneously while we're teaching and all that. And I always wonder what motivates somebody to, first of all, get into this industry, and then what is the path they take that eventually leads them to want to teach. And so let's start with that. Where did you, why? I always ask this. Why become a software engineer instead of a rich billionaire?
Because I liked video games when I was a teenager.
Yes, the video. It's like I've done hundreds of these interviews.
And video games at that point was like sticking quarters in an arcade.
It was a money machine, and it was fun, and it was not like $100 million effort either. This is.
So that, and then my parents were great. They supported that, and like there was a local community college had like computer for kids camp, and I learned BASIC there, and said, okay, this is what I wanted to do, and so I got into computer science, and boy, was that tough. It's a hard major, and I actually have a T-shirt that says, "Trust me, I got my computer science degree without the internet." And it really didn't start to make sense to me till my junior year. I just kind of I say I got my degree with faith and fingernails, just holding on by my fingernails and faith that this is where I was meant to be, and was made it out in the regular time. And I'm still surprised that I do this. I'm still a coder, and it's just that I enjoy it so much, and there's still, there's always new things to do. It's been a journey. I worked for an aerospace company, and then through that I got to work in France for a couple years. And in my 20s, and that was awesome. Got to explore a lot of Europe. Now I love to travel, and just bouncing from different jobs, and I have a family. I have 3 kids, and just working through. They're all adults now. Hi guys. And my husband is like really supportive of what I do, and so how I first got into teaching, it wasn't something really I sought out. I love mentoring. I love working with people and just have younger developers and show them what to do. Sometimes a little bossy, but
I'll bet you're
it
not.
was Learning Tree International. You get emails all the time about jobs. Delete. And Learning Tree International came across my email about a possibility of learning to be an instructor for Java and UML. So I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds interesting. So I didn't do much with them because there wasn't a lot of opportunity, but I taught a few classes, and I was able to put that on my resume. And
what year was this roughly?
This was 2008.
Oh, okay. So this is fairly recently. Yeah.
No, this is not recently. 2008. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
88. That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then I did. It was on my resume, but I didn't really do much. But the LinkedIn thing, they found me.
Yeah.
It was the similar thing. They saw my the work that I'd done in spring, and then I had experience with being instructor for Learning Tree, even though it was small. And I almost deleted that email, but I was like, maybe I'll reply to this, and then got in conversations about what it was about. And the woman I spoke to, Stephanie, she told me that we don't have any content in spring right now, and they're looking for somebody to do that. And I was like, oh man, I got so much on my plate. I got 3 school-aged kids. We're working full time, and it was my husband said, I think you should do this. I think this will be good for you. And so I was like, okay. So I actually had to audition. I had to so they said, teach something for 5 minutes, or just record something in QuickTime, the screencast. And I'll do J unit. And I was like, oh, I know J unit back up, left up, sideways. I could teach that. And so I didn't even write anything down. I just had just what I was going to do. And I just started blah, 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 blah. And I just stopped and I looked up and it was 15 minutes. I was like, okay, I got to really focus on what I want to say. So I sent that in, and they said, yes, we'd like you to design a course for us. And this was in 2015. And basically how that works is with LinkedIn is you write a table of contents of something you want to teach. And then put the learning goals of each of the things in the table of contents. And then they take it and they look at it and they see, okay, would this fit into their library? What confidence do they have in it? And if they accept it, then we write a contract. And then the contract is my compensation is royalties.
Sure.
And that's a long algorithmic calculation by clicks. So each it's not one long video. It's broken up into like maybe 2 to 5 minute videos of up to 2 hours, like 2 to 3 hours, depends on the course.
So these videos in learning
each video is a click.
Sure, but so these videos in aggregate are no more than 2 hours runtime?
About that, yeah. Some are like smaller, like one. My Docker one, I think, is like an hour and 20 minutes.
That's super good. I was mentioning that the other day. Because I do these. Sometimes I'll do a deep dive or whatever. Those are long slogs. You got to be up and on 2 whole hours, and if you're not, people are gonna, they'll drift. So that's. I was thinking, my better half and I, we watched a movie the other day. And she said, wow, it's only an hour and 15 minutes. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise I'm going to be falling asleep.
Well, it's a cinema, like a movie in the theaters and all that, like a feature length thing, but it's only an hour and 15 minutes. I'm like, yeah, if it's good, you could probably fit it in an hour and 15. And if it's bad, then I'm glad it's over. Either way, hour and 15 felt like a really nice round number for a talk, for a video, for a movie. And same thing I think goes for when we do these tech videos that, less is more sometimes. That said, obviously, the nice thing about LinkedIn Learning is that they have these chapters, so you can kind of do 5 minutes, go get a cup of coffee, come back, 5 minutes, here, 5 minutes there. So you have the ability to whereas with like a feature-length film,
skip.
Yeah,
which I love. Okay, yeah, I know this. Go to the next one. Yeah, I already know this. Go to the next one. Or
I'll take my chances.
What was that? Repeat it.
Right. Yeah, super useful. So, okay, let's talk about it. So you were doing C, and I want to go back to the beginning if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool. That is so cool to me, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Be an amazing engineer. When I meet people who are in this industry, who have been in the industry for so long as you have, you said it earlier, you said, I'm still. And for the young people watching, when I hear that, as somebody who's been in the industry for more than a minute and less than a million years, I hear that you resisted the urge to go into management, or the move, the push, right? That's the subtext. That's what my brain tells me you're saying. I don't know if that's right, but it's for a lot of engineers.
Nailed it.
You get to a certain point and they're like, well, you've done all you can. We don't want you to sling and code anymore. It's time to move to a different track. But that's not that makes no sense. You got somebody who's in their game. Why would you then move them away from that?
Yeah, I actually say that in that interview that I have on the website, is that, there's this draw that people like, oh, don't you want to go into program management or management? And I've actually turned down things that they've said to me, and I was like, no, that's not where my goals are. And what I found too is like, okay, there's always going to be layoffs. It's a fact of life. Mm-hmm. And if you 5 years go by, you're in that management position, your skills aren't as sharp. So if you then go to look for a job, okay, yeah, you may have soft management skills, but like the click of SQL, Java, how many years of this, that, when's the most recent you did of that thing? Because the tech goes so fast. But I mean, yeah, exactly. I don't think businesses still know what to do with us.
You are a rare breed. I've been my first job was 2002, so far fewer years. But even there, that's 23 years, and people look at me like I live in San Francisco, which is as you know, Silicon Valley adjacent, right? So people look at me like I'm a dinosaur. You've been in the same job for 15 years, and you're still coding, and I'm like, wow. That's just it's a weird thing, and I imagine it's it must.
Yeah, I mean, and I just love it, and I love the collaborating with people. Super getting giddy about well-run code. Like I was hagging on this one problem for my job, and I was like, okay, trying to get the web clients asynchronous to work with an NTLM API that does Windows and with a large response body, and it was driving me nuts. And I fixed it. I finally figured it out today, and I was like, I could have danced around the room,
I won't tell. No, that's great. I love that kind of stuff. That satisfaction. But okay, so you get out of university. Your Java is not a twinkle in Gosling's eye for another 6 years at that point, I guess. You said 88, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so another 6 years. 1994 is when they first started talking about Java. So you're doing C and C++. Are you building?
I started out in a job with C, which I didn't do. I didn't study C in college.
What did you study?
Yeah, let me think. Maybe it was like, I think I remember having a programming languages course where like they kind of presented a bunch of languages. So I had the big C Koenig and Ritchie book. But my first job out of college was with a NASA contractor. And it was a really great opportunity because it was writing ground station software in C for testing satellite modules. And I was like brought under this guy who was the expert at it. He was the only guy that was really doing C in the group. The other people were doing like Fortran. And so I was being mentored by him, and he liked that. It was fine. But 6 months afterwards, he quit. Went to put up his shingle for his own company. And so all of this knowledge, all that responsibility fell on me.
Good hands.
23 years old, and it was the worst, not worse. It was hard, but it was the best thing for me. So like that was like my original language is in C, and a little bit of Ada, not much, thank goodness. And then C++ later in other companies I work with. I'm on my 12th employer.
Yeah. I mean, that's just 12 years in Silicon Valley. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know you're actually a good employee, and so you stick around and see the project through. So when you were using C, I mean, when was the last? There was was it 92 or?
So 80? Would I ever want to go back to C? No. I ever want to go back to C++, but it gave me a real appreciation for memory allocation and freeing up memory and how that's important. And so, then with Java, that takes care of a lot of that garbage collection. And then a lot of things that with C and C++ that going from different computer platforms like Unix or Windows, you had to have special drivers and a special code for each of those systems, and or sometimes it wouldn't compile. And then it was like, Java takes care of all of that, So I would never want to go back to that because I'm a lazy developer.
There's things,
but I have an appreciation for it.
There's things, there's things young people don't even realize today, which is there's actually a difference between the bytes in one operating system can be different than those in another, like big Indian, little Indian, just things we don't even think about in Java, really.
Yeah, pointers.
Pointers too. I mean, by the way, did you notice it's getting gray? I just noticed.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Anywho, I just find that super interesting. Is so and that was C++ was a brand new thing, right? He created that in the 80s.
And it took like at least a couple years to wrap my brain around object-oriented programming.
Sure.
It wasn't natural. I was just so used to functional, do this, group things together to make it modular.
Right.
But to really appreciate object-oriented programming, it took a while to get into my DNA.
Yeah. I think that's realistic. Yeah. In fact, I think the object orientation, if it's done well, can be very, very good. But if it's done poorly, it looks like a tortured, drawn-out, long-form version of structs and functions, right? Like data structures and functions that manipulate those data structures. And why do that? Just use C, just be honest with yourself.
Or like keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also take advantage of we're gonna do it, but don't write C code in Java. And then I think writing C code, not the syntax, but I mean the concepts, the functions manipulating data structures, I think is very natural for people to kind of understand. These are functions, these are things that hold data in a particular shape, and that's all I need to know. I pass to that thing in and I manipulate them and all that. And I think that comes very naturally. So when people come to Java and they don't really sort of grok object orientation, information hiding, visibility, stuff, I think the code that falls out of that, if the uninformed approach to it, looks like C, and that says a lot about C. It actually kind of lines up very naturally with the mentality that a lot of people have when they don't have a different one,
Yeah.
The default one. Now the syntax makes it a bear, but memory management, that kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, that's super cool. So what kind of operating systems were you working on? 88 was not even Windows, right? I mean,
88 was Unix. I don't even remember. It was like maybe HP UX. That's what it was. Wow. So and then HP UX and just regular Unix. And it was funny because that was my original exposure to Unix, and a lot of time went by. And then when I got a Mac, and when I'd been away from Unix for a long time, I got a Mac and I was like, hey, VI, I can do VI again. But I was surprised my fingers remembered the keystrokes for VI after probably about 20 years of not being in it. But yeah, so it was Linux, SCO Unix.
Oh, SCO, before they even got...
they ran on a PC.
Before they started suing everybody sideways for stuff. You remember that whole debacle 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
Maybe.
Yeah. People wondering, that company no longer exists, and the reason is because they tried to take every open source project under the sun to court for reasons.
So other basically Unix type of things when it was in C and C, then C++. I think we used Warp for a while.
Oh, it was cool.
Windows. Yeah. IBM was Warp.
OS2, yeah.
OS2, yeah, because it was before you could have multi processing in Windows.
Yeah.
Windows, and then Windows.
That's another thing people don't appreciate. We had preemptive multitasking in Windows 3.3 up until Windows 95. So basically, and they had it in Mac for even longer. Mac OS up until version 9. Basically, you had one thread. It was like Node. You had one rendering thread, and you could have multiple windows, but really only one got the priority on the CPU, and everything else was. And that kind of makes sense in a world where you only have one CPU. But by the mid 90s, we already had, multi-core kind of architectures, and Windows 95 fixed it, and they finally got multitasking, and Mac OS in 2000. I guess it was 2000, 1999.
So then I was just in the Windows
Mac OS 10.
Like ecosystem for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I did development on using Mac wherever I wanted to go. And then other places I've had Linux. Now the work I'm doing now, the GFE, government furnished equipment, is because I work on a government project. It's Windows, it's HP, sure. But I personally have work on a Mac. But like my last course, I did completely in GitHub Codespaces.
That's so cool.
I created the whole thing in GitHub Codespaces.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Those things are because I'm sure you've done like workshops or whatever. The first half hour invariably is it's the desk check. We're walking around making sure every student has you have to have this JDK, you need to have some IDE that you can work with, just Codespace is just obviates all of that, isn't that wonderful?
Right. Yeah. So that was like if the other course before that was with Codespaces, I was like doing it locally and then uploading to GitHub, and then moved into Codespaces, and then I became knowledgeable in Codespaces, and I was like, I just did the whole thing in there, and it's the future, remote development, like virtual development environments, and you need some more CPU, just add it to the cloud.
Roll it out.
Yeah,
wow, that's so good. I'm a big fan of these technologies that are allowing us to commoditize. I mean, I work at I work at Broadcom. We have VMware, and VMware, one of the things they debuted was the concept of it wasn't the first company to do it, but it was certainly the one that I don't know if that's even true, actually. It feels like it is. I don't know. A lot of people know VMware for virtual machines, right? And virtual machines are amazing. They're like a unit of reusability, of composability of operating systems. But then you get to now VMware, as often as not, is talking about containers these days, right? And that's amazing too. And now we've got this WebAssembly stuff, which I think is super amazing as well. And it's just how small can we get portable things? What granularity can we start shipping? Like self-contained, statically contained environments, not just programs.
Yeah, it is cool. My intro to my one course is intro to Docker for Java developers.
Ooh.
And I actually took it over Arun Gupta wrote the original of it, and he was asked to upgrade it or update it, and he just moved on to other things. He didn't have the time, and so I was asked if I would do it, and he supported me with it. But so I redid the whole thing. But typically what I'd seen before when people talk about this is Docker is they'll start talking about a hypervisor and a virtual machine versus virtual machine and why it's different and all the layers and stacks and technology in there. And you don't get to actually code for chapters later. So within 5 minutes of my Docker course, I'm at the command line with a Spring Boot application, web application with actuator in it, and with just a 6-line Docker file and a 2-line script, and I say, look, I'm at the terminal. I'm running Java 11.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have Tomcat installed. And now I'm going to, at the command line, run this Spring Boot application, which is built for a war,
right?
Not a jar. That's for Java 17. And it's going to deploy to Tomcat. And I run my script, and you see like all the messages going through is it's building the image, and then downloading the image for and I don't even say what these are. I just like say rely on people's intuition. Okay, I see something message about Tomcat. Oh, I see Maven running something. It's building this code, and then it runs it, and I do like a curl to actuator / health, and it's up and alive, and I think it's that kind of like pulls people in. It's like, well, how did you do that? And I like say, look, I still have Java, like I still have Java 11 running. Tomcat's still not installed. How is this working? And I was like,
right.
okay, click is like I have Docker installed, and then I break it down and I actually see how it was like that. I do a shell into it to the container and look and say, okay, here's my application. Here's here's where Tomcats is, and here's the war file. And so I kind of like do a reverse, and then I explain what is Docker, what's a Docker file, what's a container, what's Docker Compose. And then by the end, I say, okay, and you don't even need a Docker file because we're going to use Jib.
Right.
Or like Spring Boot has the plugin.
Build pack. Love build. Jib's pretty good too, though. But build packs is my go-to. Whatever. Anyway, friends write Docker files. That's the important bit, right? As long as we are on there. So all that is very good. So so you're doing C, and then how? Like, when did you? I mean, was there a gap between the C and the Java, or when did you find your way to Java?
I was in Java, and then I was laid off. And then we moved to a different house. And then I tried really hard to find a Java job, but I couldn't at that time. And so I took a C++ coding job. So I was at that one for a couple of years. And then I was able to finally get a different job that was back into Java.
Is that on Windows C++? Like with COM and stuff like
that? I can't even remember.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I erased that trauma job from my memory.
So then you're into Java, and like this is still, or are we talking about, what are we looking at here?
So this is like 2002, 2003.
Things were starting to get good. Yeah. Okay.
2003 is when I got back into Java. And that job, and I'm not the type of person that all in my spare time I'm still thinking about computers and software. You know, with the family, it's just there's just too much going on, and I was like, okay, shut the laptop or log out the computer, go home. I'm not reading books about computer software or anything like that. I can put that away. In my job, I get into it, and so what's led me to different technologies, is been work.
Yeah.
You know, and there's times that I've left positions where I wasn't learning anything new, or there's times I've left positions because they asked me to, but that happens, you know. But
come on, yeah.
But it's a thing. So
big time. I know a lot of great people that worked at not so great companies. Actually, I started in the industry in 2002. That was .com bust, right? So
yeah, that's true.
Everybody was folding up shop. And I hordes and hordes of people. I was glad to take any job, even if it was like subpar wages or whatever. I was like, I'm eating, like I don't care. Okay, so by the way, for young people watching, this is another great thing that I think worth keeping in mind. The people who are able to go home and live a real life and actually develop their family life and their inner life, those people will have more. They will work better. Their brains are fresher. They can sit down and do more. Right. This is.
Yeah. Can I interject something on that too? If we're talking to young people,
sure.
I have never had a dream job.
Yeah, that's fair.
People are like waiting to. I want my dream job. There's never a perfect job. Never. I mean, I've had a great career, and there's different parts of things that have really sucked. And
Yeah.
there's parts that have been really good. But I was like, oh, this is my dream. Just do the work, you know, and you'll gain something no matter, even if it's a crummy job, you'll gain something. But you know, a lot of like positions have given me access to financial freedom.
Sure.
And so having that makes like I thought honestly that I would be a stay-at-home mom, and things just didn't work out that way. My husband became a stay-at-home dad for a while he worked on his master's, so I was working, and that was a dream that I had a position that could support our whole family while he went and was home with the kids. He didn't have to have a job at the same time for us to make it through. And one great job I had is sometimes the people make it a dream that you work with. Even if the work is okay. I had incredible support from coworkers when my husband got sick at one time and he had to stop working for a while. He's awesome now. But and it's good. But you get the blessings where you can find them.
Oh my God. Yeah, that should be the message. Yeah, that's actually amazing. I have had the privilege of working with great people and I learned things, but come on, there's always going to be, that's why it's called work. It can't all be fun and games. I think the same is true for, I don't want to turn this into that tangent, but I had some naive ideas about what the relationship situation would look like as an adult, when I was a kid. We all hope to meet Mr. or Mrs. Right or whatever. But good relationships are work. That's okay.
Absolutely.
More satisfying when they do work,
Absolutely.
So I think
my husband and I have been married since 1997. So
I'm sure it's mostly ups, but come on, it's probably
there's ups and downs, but we're in it together, and we share a lot of common goals and faith and values. And I mean, one of the first things that really attracted me to this guy that I started dating was he, like me, didn't roll over credit card debt. We paid the credit cards at the end of each month.
Absolutely. Super. That's another thing. I mean, it sounds like you're parroting. I'm sure it sounds like the conversations these things you're saying are things I've talked with my daughter about, and my mom, she's still alive, but I'm a big fan. She in the latter half decade of my late father's and her marriage, they divorced, in the 90s. But in that latter decade, she was she went to work and dad was stay-at-home dad. She was, and that's a lot of a burden to put on somebody because she's still mom. She's still got to do all that, and then she went to work, and she had to. This is in Los Angeles, so you spend 2 hours of your day every day doing. Even if you want to go to the corner bodega to get a soda pop, it's still an hour drive. So everything was an hour. So it's 2 hours every day. That's 1/12 of the day gone, or 1 month of your year every day. And then so she did that, then did a full day, and then some extra because it's never just 8 hours, right? And then she came home and did all that, and that's hard. It's work. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Anyway, good for you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
This podcast is limited. We can only talk for I guess, but eventually you're going to go back to your Friday and I to mine, but I hope we get to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Now you're in the Java ecosystem and, you're obviously, you're teaching people Spring, which is, I'm a big fan of the Spring thing. I think has legs. It's going to go places, how did you find it? What was your first impression of it?
I was introduced to Spring in a Learning Tree course that I was taking. I was like, well, this is interesting. And saw the value of dependency injection. So that's like in the late 2000s, and was using it. And then Spring Boot came out, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what the main thing that tickled me?
What's that?
After working in J2EE for the longest time, I got the main.
Yes.
The main back.
My main. We learned about university. Where did it go? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I was like, oh, I'm in control now. And instead of like my stuff deployed somewhere else, and if that's working correctly, what it's running on, and the JBoss versus Tomcat and all that rigmarole. So that was cool to me, and that everything was encapsulated into one jar, and then it was opinionated.
Yeah.
That it would say, okay, you know what, we know what's best for you, and rather than have to configure every little thing, it's like, okay, this is the best practice you follow. You can override it,
Sure.
But I just saw that grow, and I was like, dang, this is really good. And then Spring Data.
Oh, I love Spring Data.
And so I have a whole class on Spring Data that, to me, that was, and I say this in my course, it was a game changer. Yeah. For me, for just the automatic, from having to do the JDBC and then the mapping of the fields to the classes up manually all the time, and managing the transactions and the commits and the rollbacks, and then to that a Spring Data like repository interface query methods that I could just set the signature of a method and interface, just as long as the signature maps the traversal of the entity attributes, then the query's on that. I was like, dang, and and this is probably the most valuable thing, that as well as in the annotation queries, JPQLs and those, you find out if they're wrong when the application starts. You don't have to invoke the query to see if it's right or not. Yeah. To see if it's got if you got an SQL error in it, or that, which I know you can do that with named queries, but just that it will do a good smell test, of your queries just at startup. You may not even invoke it.
Right. I confess I didn't know that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. It finds them at Bootstrap.
That's amazing. This kind of stuff, you're right, because coming back from that world where you did see, right? You knew you've heard of resource acquisition is initialization, right? RAII.
Okay, I don't remember.
Malloc.
I'll take your word. Oh yeah.
Right. You allocate, do something, and then free. You allocate, do something, and then free. You never let that pointer escape its context, And to go from that world where every little thing is under your purview, and it's to just like, okay, here's the quintessential thing I want to do. You take care of everything else for me. Oh, mm-hmm. I slept better the first time I read that.
You get to actually address the business problem.
Yeah.
And not get worried about the little things.
Huge. Okay, so that kind of stuff is really good. So where are you? How do you feel about all the stuff we've seen? I think right now, I'm really curious about somebody like your perspective, because right now we've got GraalVM, we got virtual threads, we got all these things that, were you working in a lower level language, maybe you have a different perspective on, and to see them finally arrive in Java,
mm-hmm.
Any of that stuff.
So here's my perspective. I like going to conferences. I don't get to go very often, but I'd like when I was at the Java One conference, it's really good for me to get an idea of what's going on generally throughout the industry. Because honestly, I just do my job.
Yeah.
I'm not like digging and say, what's the next best thing? Because honestly, unless I use it, I'm going to forget it.
Right.
So I just like to be generally aware of things existing, and that if something comes up in my work that I remember reading about, or I remember talking about this at that conference or hearing about that, then I'll dig into the details of it and say, oh, you know what, there's value in this.
Yes.
And so I don't claim to be a guru of all the things. It's just like I got better things to do, you know.
Right.
And so and that's the type of like the LinkedIn learning videos that I learned that there's this term called just-in-time learning.
Yes.
And it's people are like myself are not going to who are like myself are not going to sit and read a book about a lot of things only to use a tenth of the book. You know, I need to do my job. How do I create a Spring Boot query method, a Spring Data query method? I'll go right to that. Okay, I got it now. I'll go use it. And I think that's where a lot of people are. They just want to do their jobs and learn how to use something. I love Spring Boot so much because I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Anytime there's something new that has to be done, it's like, I bet you there's something in Spring ecosystem that does that, or somewhere. Just
I hope so anyway.
Do a Goog and find something.
Oh, it's so good. That's really refreshing to hear somebody with the breadth and depth of your experience, still, finding it productive to use Spring Boot. That's a validation of the work the team is doing. You're amazing. Oh, you're so amazing.
Thanks.
People like you. I got the goosebumps. It's not the clouds. You've seen the front lines of software that I can only dream of. What as we sort of wind down here, are you on the internet? I mean, I already know some of this stuff, but are you on the internet? Do you want to be found? And if so, where do you want to? Where can people find you? That's my three.
Probably just on my LinkedIn profile. Is the easiest thing, and it's linkedin.com/in/Emmy Bowman. My website is maryellenteaches.me.
Okay, I'm sorry. 1 sec. I'm just getting LinkedIn. Here we go.
Let me verify that you are, and I'll put it in the chat.
I verified it. Here we go. There's LinkedIn. This is you and I met recently. Dream for me, and then I think either you did the nice thing and reached out to me, or I did, or whatever. I just went through my notifications and I realized we were almost connected, and I'm so glad that we are connected. And then this came together. Oh, so cool. And then okay, your website now. Okay, here we go. Pasting. Yep. This is how I feel too, right there. New hero unlocked.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
so
guys.
Here's the website. Book. Link it, bookmark it, like, subscribe, that kind of thing.
Are you interested in showing the montage I made, or?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So what I did is I did a capture of the on-screen content of my Spring Data course. I did 4 different on-screen small videos that are throughout the course, and I just captured them and put them all together into one file, and just shows like how it starts, and then what the challenges are going to be, and then partway through it says we did it. We refactored our code, and then there's the outro of it.
Okay. Ready, steady. Let me know if you can hear that.
With Spring Data, we'll embark on a journey that gives us better functionality while writing less code. Whether you're working on web applications, microservices, or standalone software, this course empowers you to efficiently elevate your data access code. By the end of this course, you'll know how to implement sophisticated data handling
So
mechanisms.
LinkedIn, the editors put all this part in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks so good. And then I was in hair and makeup, which was really fun. Sorry, go ahead.
Cheers.
Discover how Spring Data JPA can be a game changer by reducing boilerplate code, automating repository implementation, and simplifying database interactions. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Bowman. I'm a senior Java developer, and I'll be leading you through this deep dive into Spring Data. Let's get to work. Believe it or not, I love refactoring ugly code. Our work on this course is going to model a real-world project. I'm the architect, and you'll shadow me on this project. Together, we'll refactor a plain vanilla JPA project into a beautiful Spring Data JPA application. Yes, code can be beautiful when it's clean, modular, and efficient. Let's go.
So then this is after that.
Refactoring, but is it beautiful? Let's look at some statistics. Just by leveraging JPA repositories, over 200 lines of code have been eliminated. For example, Staff DAO had 7 complicated methods. Staff Repo replaced it with all the baked-in JPA repository CRUD methods and 1 easy-to-understand query method. We also were able to eliminate all of this configuration code to set up Entity Manager Factory, the data source, transaction manager, and the H2 connection properties, replacing it with the Spring Boot and Spring Data Starter dependency and the Spring Boot application annotation. As an added bonus, now our application is part of the Spring Boot ecosystem, making it easy to integrate with other Spring Boot modules. We did it. Congratulations. We accomplished our goal to make beautiful code. Now let's look at more Spring Data features.
And then the next part goes into the outro. You see on the left side is the table of contents that I'm clicking.
On this deep dive into Spring Data.
That's awesome.
So what's next? How about shadowing me again in my course, Creating Spring Boot Microservices? And if you'd like to learn more about Docker, I have an Introduction to Docker for Java Developers course. Thanks for making beautiful code with me.
Ah, that's cool. Cool.
There's the ham coming out.
Let's see. Hide that. Stop that. All right. Well, I appreciate you and appreciate.
Thanks so much, Josh. This was awesome.
No, it was awesome for us. You know, and especially look at the turnout. We got 300, almost 400 people watching around the world and across different platforms and socials here. And bear in mind that this will get there's a long tail to these videos because obviously right now it's the end of the day on Friday night for most of the world already, right? Most of the world. In Asia, it's Saturday, for example. So Australia, they're squarely into tomorrow already. And Europe's asleep or going to be soon. And so here in the West Coast, it's already almost the end of the day. So the fact that we got that many people who came and hung out, this is a good time.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Yeah, look at that. She says I might get this course. I think that's probably true. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Mary Ellen.
Bye, Josh.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
You as well.